We all know getting the truth don't happen on the surface. You gotta dig for it. Around here, we sit down with the people making noise. From the block to the boardroom. Business owners, community leaders, politicians, musicians. If you got a story, we pull up a chair. I'm Gunsmoke, Paterson bred and never scared of the truth. This ain't for the fake, the fluff, or the filters. Welcome to the Beatdown Podcast. I showed you love, I showed you trust, I gave you all of me, but then you turned and walked away, left me for dead in these streets. And we got rich by accident. We came up now, you know what I mean? Let's go from back out. We got rich by accident. We up now. We are here, episode 5, man. I'm in City Hall and I'm here with Councilman Jackson, man.
Close to Cinco de Mayo, man. Episode 5. That's what's up.
Yeah, that's dope. That's dope. Know you're a councilman. I know you're involved in a lot of things with the town, but give us a background on yourself. Where you from? Where you grew up at? You know, that there. Beat me down about that.
Hey, man, I'm from here. I'm from Paterson. Paterson. I grew up on the east side of town. As a little guy, I lived over top of Torpedo Base.
Okay.
So
I love these sandwiches.
Yeah. It was the hot dogs back then. I was a little dude, man.
Okay.
But from there, I moved over to East 23rd Street. As you know, my younger years, and so I went to school 21. Played basketball there, played sports in the city. You know, it was a lot different back then. Played in the street. You know, football between the pole to pole, manhole to manhole. So a lot different environment than what it is now.
Yeah.
But it was still tough. And a lot of hard lessons on those streets. You know, and then from there, I was scheduled to go to East Side because you know I'm a football guy. My family, we all was involved in sports, so I was scheduled to go to East Side. My father bought a house on the other side of town, so I found myself getting dropped off at CCP projects every morning prior to school. And it was some good times then. I had a lot of family in the projects, but you know, when you the new face in town, little curly head dude coming getting dropped off, you got to walk your way up to the 8th floor. Sometimes it was a hard knocks life, you know.
Yeah.
But you know, it was good lessons learned there as well. Went on to Kennedy High School, played football there for 4 years. I played all sports, played basketball, baseball, but football was my ticket. I always knew it was kind of my ticket out. You know, I knew, but I really didn't know.
Okay.
So the things I know now, the things that my kids are going through, you know, it was a little different experience than myself. I wasn't very astute. I didn't go to class to take care of the things that I should have done. I was interested in a lot of the same things that kids are interested in now, you know, girls, streets, music. You know, I was a DJ, a producer, you know, through my later years as well. So I had an opportunity. Well, that's after the fact. After I left high school, I got a football scholarship to go to school in Daytona Beach, Florida.
Okay.
So I went down there for a while. I played Division I football, and that entire time I still had a love for Paterson, for you know the allure of what the environment brought on. You know, you guys won't even understand this, man. When we had parties at Father English with KRS-One.
Too young for that. I'm too young for that. I heard about them.
Yeah,
I'm too young for that.
In fact, many people don't know. I was performing at the show at the stadium, Hinchcliffe Stadium. It's had to be, I want to say like 86, 87, something like that. It was Marley Marl, MC Shan, Bismarck, and then all the local people. So it's a dude named Prince Scientific. I don't know if you remember Prince Scientific.
Never heard of him. Yeah, I mean, I try to be as Paterson as possible, but
hey, Prince Scientific is as Paterson as you could get.
Okay.
Prince Scientific, DJ Shock, DJ Tap. A lot of these guys are still around now. And Marley actually used Tab's turntables at that show.
Okay.
So I got booed at the show. I was a young dude, but you know, it's just the experiences, man. So the things that were different then, we had a lot more going on. You know, I played baseball for Marty Barnes. Marty Barnes was the former mayor of the city of Paterson. He owned a business on 10th Ave. So my father would play. He played for Bottom Line, the softball team, and you know that was at night. And on the weekends, I played for Marty Barnes. So you know, it was a lot different back then. It was a lot more involved. The community was a more well knit community. We had sponsors. Nowadays, you know, kids don't have much of anything unless somebody like yourself or myself volunteers for it.
Absolutely.
You know, my father was a volunteer coach here for about 25 years, man. I was in college playing. He was still here sponsoring teams, coaching, and doing all the things that's really necessary for, you know, our community.
Okay.
So, you know, that's about it, man. I mean, listen, I, I know what it's like to, you know, not to have everything that you want at the moment. But I also know what it's like to have a community provide a lot of outlets, you know. I got 7, 8 calls this week alone from former players because you know I coached at Eastside, I coached at Kennedy, I coached various teams, football, and guys calling me, young guys, 22, 23, yo, Coach Mike, I need a job, man. You know, I had the luxury of working. I worked at the pool. I was a lifeguard at the pool when Grand Street Projects was still there. And, you know, my brother worked there, myself, Sean Collins, Chris Collins, the Moody family. Like, you know, we had opportunities.
Those some peoples.
Yeah, man.
Those some
yeah,
peoples.
it's real Patterson. It's
Those
real
some peoples.
Patterson. Yeah.
Okay. So when did you get into politics?
I never got into politics. I'm still not into politics.
Okay.
And that's why you reached out to me because I mean, obviously, even you see something different. You see something where I'm just here being truthful. I'm here, you know, exposing. I like to call it the Wizard of Oz scenario, where you know we've been afraid and we don't really understand, and it's the smoke and the curtain, and then we go in there and you know pull the curtain back and we see this guy that's a little man back there just moving things around and you know so that's what I like to do. I like to expose what's going on, rip the curtain back and let the community see. It's just regular men back here making decisions. So in a nutshell, what happened was I own a business in the city. I've been in business for 24 years.
Okay.
A restaurant, lounge, bar, Jacksonville.
I performed there a few times.
Yeah, okay.
That's
what's up.
Yeah. Okay.
And we had the luxury, man, of having lots of people perform there. That's the beauty of it. Kevin Hart shot a TV show there. Tommy Davidson, David Allen Greer, Paul Mooney. So you know, you sat on the stage where a lot of big names were.
Those them people.
So and also providing an outlet even for people who's still trying to build it. So we did that as well. And people like yourself, you know, even the early days of Fetty Wap before he was what he was, you know. So what happened was I struggled to get that business off the ground. I worked at it. Financially, I had to put things together, right? And just understanding and learning the process of what's going on. So I've learned, you know, what's happening with these with the grants and things of that nature. So during that process of putting the business together, I was able to accumulate about $300,000-$400,000 worth of grants to build my business, you know. So I went out and picked up a $1.4 million loan to expand on the business. And you know, I started getting a lot of backlash. Once people saw that I was making my place bigger and I had the ear, so to speak, of the community, I became a threat. So I noticed things that were going wrong and how the doors that should have been open to me was somehow being closed. So I started paying attention because I had to be, you know, into my 30s about that time. So I didn't much like you, and I'm not sure how much you know about the politics, I didn't know much about it. All I knew was Vera Ames, probably the same as you, right?
Yeah,
That's
Vera
all I knew.
Ames, Ruby Cotton.
Well, Ruby was not elected back then.
Okay.
So Ruby's been elected the last 15 years. Prior to that, they were talking before that. So Vera was still in the council. You had Anthony Davis, Vera Ames. So you had a few people, but I didn't know who was my council person. I didn't know what their job was. I didn't know what their responsibility was. But then when I started looking into it, when it starts pertaining to you, hitting you, affecting you financially, you start paying attention. I started looking at the people that were in place, said, listen, man, I need to be in those spaces making those decisions. So that's what inspired me to run. Because I was actually asked to run prior to that. And I said, no, I would never run for political office because I can't talk out of both sides of my face. So, here I am, man.
I like that.
Not talking out of both sides of my face, and I'm scaring a lot of people.
So I wasn't, like I said, I wasn't into politics. I'm not into none of this. What really jumped out at me is, unfortunately, the negative press. Councilman Jackson, relax. I watched that video a million times. You wasn't really doing that.
Yo, listen, you ain't doing it a service, man. Councilman Jackson, brother. Councilman Jackson.
But you wasn't doing that. But that's what a lot of people in my age bracket, they, yo, you seen the fight at the yo. You know what I'm saying? And then now the thing with the misinterpretation of words as they put it on the new, whatever. I don't know. I don't know.
Got a gun, right?
I got a gun. I don't know. Well, all I'm saying is, it's a different side. You know what I'm saying? And for people just getting into politics, or people, social media kids, the young people that's just all in their phones, if that's all they see, then they get a negative. That's why I wanted to sit down with you and we talk about things, so to give these people a different, like, nah, this is who Michael Jackson is. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I want to touch on that very quickly because a lot of people don't understand the nuances of what took place. Najee Seabrooks was just murdered. And not just his family, but our community was here in an uproar. Our community was upset. So there's a lot of young brothers in the audience, probably around your age, maybe a little younger. But they had to fight through the 30 cops at the door, the 25 cops or so outside the hallway here, and the other maybe 25 to 30 cops that's circling around the building. And what I knew was maybe a month prior, there was a rally that was organized in front of the library. George Floyd was killed, right? And Black Lives Matter. And all the people involved with that movement put together a rally, a peaceful rally. Now, you had a lot of young people there, but you also had some very prestigious people from our community. All the Moody family was there. That means Alonzo, Mr. Chief Moody, Zatiti Moody, principal at Eastside High School at the time, Malik Moody, who was a former prosecutor, now city fireman. You had people like Kemper McDowell, Benji Wimberly. You had a lot of prominent Black people there. The police department still did not find it robbery to put snipers on the roof. They had snipers on the neighboring roofs. And I happened to see them coming out after the event was over. They come out with all their baggage. It let me know what the mindset was. Now, there's been many protests and rallies in the 6th Ward, in various parts of the city when it didn't include Black people. They was never met with that kind of, recourse. So now here I am at a council meeting. The chamber's loaded. We got some young brothers in the audience upset because Najee was just carelessly murdered.
Absolutely.
And the city CFO wasn't respecting the family. In fact, he was busy doing something else. They were laughing about something. So people in the audience took offense and they said something to him. They was in a dialogue back and forth with him. Now, you have 3 young brothers in the front, the CFO here, and he's getting aggressive with them. So I saw what it was. I saw his reaction, checked him, because I knew what the circumstances were if that escalated. See, they can't remove me. I'm here. I'm supposed to be here. And obviously, he's an employee of the city. He should have had more respect for the family. So if you go back to the video and just, you can even tag it to this. The first thing I said is, man, why what did you say? Shut up, man. And that was the reaction. So then he turned around and gestured like, who you talking to? Like, I'll come over there and slap you. That was his gesture. You don't see any of that on camera. And then you hear me say, I wish you would. You come on over here. So he gets up to come over here. That's when I got up. But obviously they try to paint me in the light, much as they do us all the time.
And just kept saying Councilman Jackson, Councilman Jackson. And I'm watching the tape. It was just one person just, you know what I'm saying? Of course you're frustrated. You a grown man. You are entitled to be frustrated as was. Man coming at you crazy.
Nah, it wasn't that at all, man. I didn't feel a threat at all. You know, I was, listen, man. Look, again, I grew up in Paterson. You know, I've been in many, many scuffles here and there. I've been jumped before. So I understand it. And since that time, I own a karate school. I've been partners of the karate program for plus 25, 30 years. I teach people to defend themselves. I'm not going to put myself in a space, but I'm not also going to let you punk me and have the audience with this perspective of you're having this more of a dominant position, because that's not the case. You work for the public. You work for the people. And if I got to be the one to put you in check, I don't have a problem with doing that.
Okay.
So that's what it is.
So how do you respond to the allegations that corruption remains deeply embedded in Paterson politics? And what specific steps have you taken to address those issues?
Corruption is alive and well in the city, brother. And the things that we're, and it's not, you've just been a casualty, so to speak, collateral damage in the situation. My father and my grandparents, their decisions not to get involved in politics completely, it really allowed for things to spiral out of control. So things that I did not know prior to me being elected, I'm seeing now. The Paterson Housing Authority. It is a money laundering scam larger than life. So when they focus their energy on the illegal activities that's going on in the street, they focus their energy on a short, small interaction on a corner with nickel bags being tossed to the side. We understand that that's a crime, but there's far bigger crimes going on right here in City Hall. There's millions of dollars being stolen. Just recently, there was a report that was done by an independent agency that talked about how over $25 million has been misappropriated.
That's a lot of money.
That's a great deal of money, man.
That's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money. Right now at Hinsdale Stadium, $110 million to refurbish the stadium, not to build from ground up. And these are some of the things that even if you go back on my pages, you'll see I've been again pulling the curtain back, shining the light on it and trying to expose it. Because in Texas, they built a 10,000 seat stadium for $10 million. We refurbished a 6,000 seat stadium for $110 million. Where's that money at? There's been no expenditure reports. Anytime you're spending public dollars, you're responsible for showing the reports. I want to see exactly who got what to the dime, to the penny. They recently put out another report, $1.2 million in deficit. They say they're running, right? $750,000 in administrative costs. What does that mean? Where's that money?
What does that mean?
$300,000 in payroll expenses. Who got paid from that? $275,000 in repairs and repairs and maintenance in a building that you just spent $110 million on refurbishing. That's like you go to the dealer and buy a new car. You go and buy a new Benz, a 650 BMW, and then a month after you get it, you got to put new tires on it. You
need a new trans.
Exactly. This is a brand new car. It's not a used vehicle. You just, spent.
Yeah, they charging you. They say, yo, You need new trans. You need new struts.
You like, wait a minute.
Axle.
You want to see the report in the car now.
Exactly, man.
Was this car really new or was it used? You know.
Yeah.
So that's what's really was going on. And then what I really found out now is that the majority of the people that's making these key decisions, they have no idea what they're doing, man. They've never made these kinds of decisions before. They get out here, they knock on your door. Hey, how are you? Can you vote for me? You asked me nicely. I like with your suit, and you put these people in office, and you wouldn't allow them to run your lemonade stand if you went away on vacation, because you know that they were running in the ground. But they're making decisions on our budget this year is going to be $305 million. $305 million. Our school board budget is going to be close to $900 million. So you got $1.2 billion coming into the city.
No, somebody
You
got to
feel
get their
that?
cut. I don't
Do you
feel,
feel
I never was shoot. We still paying top dollar for our kids to play on teams in the city.
We play on teams. You paying for, the additional services at school. You got paying for, for lunches, free and reduced lunches been minimized. You have scenarios now where, they've now made these halal meals available, which is great because some of the kids that have these religious restrictions, but now the other kids they're not really permitted to get access to the same level of food.
Nutrients.
Correct. So where the halal food might be fresh, whole chicken wings, the regular food is a processed patty that's been, heated.
Yeah.
So when you look at the derelict in treatment, that's the part of the reason why I decided I had to get involved, and that's the reason why even now I know I'm running for mayor in 26 so we can really make some real changes in the city.
What's your position on Paterson's relationship with the state taking over the police department, especially given the recent controversies involving police brutality and misconduct?
Yo, Shaq, you may not have to worry about that. These mics, they're directional. They're not going to pick that up. Because we can edit on those, cut the shit, right?
Yeah. Don't worry about that.
Yeah, you ain't going to pick that up in the mic.
Because I could move to settings and stuff. Don't worry about that.
Yeah. All right. So it was something that was definitely necessary to happen. The police department, via the direction of the mayor, the mayor has to, it's like having a head coach, right? You can have a great offensive coordinator or a decent offensive coordinator, but if you don't have a good head coach that's going to put them in the space, you got a good quarterback, good coordinator, but yet the head coach isn't making the right decisions on personnel and the line and things of that nature. It's pretty much the same thing. The mayor directs how the PD is going to function outside in the community. So what he did was he was using the PD as a publicity stunt. We had a chief who was with the department for many, many years, a very well respected and knowledgeable chief. He could bark off and tell you what the laws are. He got rid of that guy because he wanted to be the first to appoint the first Arab Muslim chief. And then when he wasn't doing the job, because he wasn't he didn't have the material before that. You can't take a guy who was never really
been in that position or
had
even
those experiences in the street
and
had the experiences with the public that way. Yes, he's a good guy. He might be able to be great in certain situations.
But you got to have that guy with that public relation.
You got to have a guy that can lead a strong department, that can make sure men are doing the things that they're required to do, hold people accountable. And it was missing. It was missing. So after that point, now he wanted to appoint the first Hispanic. Everything he does is all a publicity stunt. I want to appoint the first LGBT. I want to appoint the first woman. I mean, sometimes you got to leave things where they are. So the attorney general coming in to take it over, it was necessary. We, especially when it comes to the Black community, we had so many senseless killings that were police involved. Now, what they were justified or not. I'm not here to speak on that. But what I am here to speak on is life is precious and we should be valuing those lives. I don't care if you live on East Main and you are perceived to be, a drug dealer, whatever the case might be.
Think you got a gun.
That's it, man. Your life is valuable. And there's been people who have been in circumstances like that and changed their life over to have enormous impact on everybody's life. Malcolm X is a great example of that,
I know a guy, one of my close friends, his family member was shot by a cop on East Main in the backyard about some gun, and there was no gun. There's in the video,
that's actually the one I'm talking about.
Yeah,
and then you had Jameek Lowry, who obviously he was in the hands of paramedics and police, and the speculation is, that he was, that he went through some traumatic experiences, and then you also have Felix De Jesus, who, and mind you, by no means, because I mean those officers that was involved with that situation, young officers, but the direction starts at the top. Leadership is key, man. You can have great players and you don't have great leaders to lead them in the direction that they're going, and it's tragic. So the leadership of the Attorney General, it was necessary, because right shortly after that you had Najee that lost his life, and there's been many other instances. You had so many different circumstances. DJ Ronnie Ron, I don't know his son's name, but he was a young brother. He got beat right in front of the library. You got 7 grown men beating up a 16, 17-year-old kid.
That's crazy.
These circumstances, happening all the time. And when it coincidentally happen to be, I mean, it wasn't just only black people. You had an Arab kid that was punched in the face in South Paterson by an officer over there. They caught that on video. On Highland Street, you got the young brother that was beat up over there, and it was a bunch of people out there, whether it was a street festival or a party outside or whatever the case might be. And one thing led to another. Now he's getting beat up. I mean, much like if you looked at my page last night, I had an interaction with one of these police officers. If he's gonna speak to me that way, how's he gonna speak to you? And he knows who I am. Now, mind you, we all look alike to some people, right?
Yeah.
He might mistake me for you, but he knows exactly who I am. But you, on the other hand, you come over there, you're a little younger, he doesn't know who you are. How is he going to handle you and manage the situation if he's going to be disrespectful to me? So I went out there and I put him on blast, put him on camera, let him know, quoted the law. He didn't even understand what the law was and what his job is. So that's why leadership is important.
Exactly. So, downtown redevelopment is moving forward, but residents worry about gentrification pushing out long-term Paterson residents. How do you balance vitalization with protecting existing communities?
Well, first of all, in my opinion, balance is not even a requirement. The requirement is the existing community. That should be the main focus. See, whenever with this mayor, his objective or his thought process is, we're going to attract new developers, new investors, bring in new people. Well, just by saying that, you're stepping over the people who've been here for 20, 30, 50 years, generation after generation. Negating the opportunity to apply or provide opportunities for home ownership, for business opportunities. Another fact, Housing Authority just lost $4 million. $4 million, of which a good portion of that, more than half of that, was supposed to be designated for Section 8 voucher holders to become first-time homeowners. So in Newark, where Roz is understanding the conditions of his community, there's nothing more empowering that I could do for you than help you become a homeowner.
That's it.
Nothing more. You take care of so many different critical things in your life by becoming a homeowner. The first thing is the obvious, the shelter. Place where your family can commune, could be together, grow together, experiences, right? But more importantly, it's the economic equalization, right? Because no matter what you spend on your house, if the market is treated right, your house is going to continuously grow in value. So when I was a kid, my father bought a house for $40,000. That same house is selling for $600,000 now. You know, it's been a little while, 30 plus years, but even if it's 2 or 3 years, you buy a house for a certain price, you make $50,000, $60,000. You take that money, you invest it in your children, you pay for their college tuitions, you buy, you know, other things that could potentially help your family build and grow, make other investments in a business. There's a lot of things that becoming a homeowner does.
Yeah.
And what we've done is we have not done our job because government has to do that. Government is in place to aid and assist the people who can't navigate that space. I have to put you in a space to be able to understand the opportunities that's available to you. You know, because if I don't do that, if government doesn't do that, then how will you know? You'll never know. So that's part of the mechanism for them to keep us at a certain level, keep us looking for, you know, for vouchers and things of that nature, because they want the recipients of those vouchers to be these developers that's coming in that need to kick them back for their campaign funds. So that's where you know, I go in a totally different direction than most of these guys that's here sitting next to me.
Build it and give it to the people that's here instead of making the people feel like they can't afford rent or they can't afford to stay here.
And not even build it and give it to them, because then you don't create no real sense of ownership. But bring them in and get them involved. Let them help in building it, right? From the ground level up, so they understand, so they learn how to do different things. I didn't know all the things that I know now, but you know, I built my own houses. You know, I built my business from ground up. Every brick that was on the wall, I put it up there myself. So I understand things. I had an opportunity to learn things that, you know, other people in the community may not, but that opportunity has to be provided.
Paterson schools have constantly underperformed. Who do you hold accountable for that? And what is your plan to turn the education system around?
So one of the biggest parts of understanding the politics in our community is understanding the structure of how things go. So as I said to you earlier, our city budget, our municipal budget is $305 million.
$305 million.
$305 million. Just to put that in perspective. When I came on, when I started about 10 years ago, the budget was about 240, 250, but it's grown every year. And this mayor has gotten more money than any other mayor in the history of the city, but he squandered it, giving it away. There's more people that walked out of here with the bag than the community being provided with the opportunity. But
absolutely.
So the school budget, on the other hand, is $900 million. So it's 3 times the city's budget, right? But it's operated separate and apart. So everybody who sits here in this council, they make decisions based on the $300 million. The school board, they make the decisions based on the $900 million.
Okay.
Now, there's been
you're teaching me this right now.
Hey man, this is what I do.
I don't know.
Again,
I'm asking good questions.
Again,
you know you're teaching me something.
My job is to disseminate this information to you guys. You know what I'm saying? I didn't know any of this stuff coming in. I actually learned it after getting elected. I happen to have a name like Michael Jackson. You know, everybody knew who I was. I was the quarterback of the last state championship team in the city. So I, you know, everybody knew who I was. My parents, my mother grew up in CCP. My father grew up in Alabama. My father was Michael Jackson as well. So people knew who I was. So it was fairly, I don't want to say it was easy, but it was an easier task for me to get elected. Plus I owned a business in the city. So I had a chance to learn it then. What I'm trying to do now is pass this information on to people like you, because my time is limited here. I'm not going to be able to hold on to these seats forever, you know? And so I have to do that. But we got to pay attention. We got to pay attention. That's the problem. So the school board, it operates separately from the city. But the mayor has a great deal of influence on the board, because this deal with the stadium was made between the school and the city. But the mayor is the one who really influenced it. He pushed it. He finagled it, and he got that deal through. So, we got crapped on because the mayor had a negative influence on $110 million.
Okay. So we're gonna get into the segment. In this segment, it's called "I Gotta Get Out of Here," and this is when you tell a crazy story about I don't know, past, present, future, whatever. But it's just you have felt like, man, I gotta get out of here.
Hey, man, we'll be here all night, man. I got plenty. I got to get out of here. Obviously, look, man. I'll be honest with you. I'm cut a little different.
Mm-hmm.
So where most people might dread coming here because it's 8 council members, various times lining up against me. I got the entire administration, the mayor, the city attorney, the CFO, all lining up against me, man. I gear up for those kinds of situations. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, is that all you
never
got
gotta
to
get
offer?
out of here. I
Let's
like
go.
that one.
So,
Yeah.
but it's plenty of circumstances, man, where I feel like I got to get out of here. And it's mostly when the community doesn't really stand up for the things that it deserves. When I got 8 council members moving in a different direction and I got an outside gentleman coming to the podium saying to me, oh, Councilman Jackson, I got good news for you. This is my last project here. And what he's saying is, I already screwed you guys more than enough. I done made 10 bags 10 times over. I squeezed this lemon dry. So this is gonna be my last time lining up here to take advantage of you this way. So for me, it's insulting for people to do that. So when I'm sitting next to people who can't understand and don't see through that, those are those moments that make me feel like I got to get out of here.
That's deep.
Those moments when my brother Bobby Williams, just had to bury his daughter because she was senselessly gunned down in Eastside Park, where we should feel safe. Those are those moments that I feel like I got to get out of here. I kept my son here to be educated locally, play locally, played at Kennedy, played at Eastside. He was at Kennedy, first transferred over to Eastside. And when I had my son feel as if he didn't get the support from the community, which is all people who I grew up with, those are those moments that make me feel like I got to get out of here, But what keeps me grounded and staying is when I know people like your kids and all these other kids in the community, innocent to all of this. They don't even understand it. They don't even know what's going on around them. Because if I get out of here, who's gonna hold it down the way I'm holding it down?
Exactly.
So that's what's up.
Exactly. I'm gonna skip mine, so I don't really got no, but this episode 5 of the Beatdown Podcast. I'm with Mike Jackson, Councilman Mike Jackson, philanthropist Mike Jackson. He wears a bunch of different hats, man. And I appreciate you having me.
Nah, brother,
We in
thank you.
City
Thank
Hall,
you.
man.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So
Well, one thing I know for sure is they don't call you gut smoke. And if you're gonna have the smoke, you better have the gun.
Yes,
You
sir.
understand? So I appreciate you, man. Thank you for giving me an opportunity to have your audience's ear. And look, man, I'm here. I'm not here for me. I'm here for you. I'm here for everybody out there who has not been represented well over the last 15 and 20, 30 plus years. I really feel like we've been dealt a raw deal. We've been given a bad hand of cards. And it's time to throw those cards back in and let's reshuffle the deck, get Mike Jackson in his mayor seat so we can make a real change in the city. And part of the plan is this. I'm gonna create more jobs locally in the city, and I'm gonna make sure it's local people that's working. You're not gonna have situations where, generation after generation, you have all these people from outside the community coming in here and stealing the careers, not jobs. These are 6-figure paying jobs. So we're gonna create more jobs locally. We're gonna kill all these contracts with these outside contractors that's worth tens of millions of dollars. and we're gonna keep all of those contracts home and make sure the work is done in-house. For example, the garbage collection contract. That's a $35 million contract that we're paying to somebody. And if you understand business, right? Business is done in thirds. It's a 30 percentile. And then there's the last 10% for, for losses and gains, right? But 30% of that is somebody's profit. Think about that. $35 million. Somebody made 30% a profit. How much is that? That's $10 to $13 million.
Just sitting
$10 to $13 million that's leaving our community, that's going in somebody's pocket. That somebody's buying a yacht with, that somebody's buying a 10, 20,000 square foot mansion with.
Took care of their great grandkids.
And that's year after year. That's $10 million a year that's going into somebody's pocket. Because the other 30%, which is the second third of that, is what he's paying his staff and his employees. So that's another $10 to $15 million. And then you got the other third of that going into his cost, his equipment, whatever it is, So you got to understand business. Any large scale contract that I give away, that's money that's burning, that's leaving my city. When I could keep that money here and create a whole nother, pool of employees.
Yeah.
So you got garbage contract, you got road resurfacing, you have underground sewer work. There's a lot of different projects around the city that we continuously hire out, And I know we're going a little over, right? But I got to give you this example. A lot of things that I didn't know. So right across the street from the towers, there's right next to the river, there's these catch basins that was installed right next to the river. It was done about 25 years ago. I saw it getting installed 30 years ago. I didn't really understand what it was. But the federal government created what they call the Clean Water Act. The Clean Water Act means that you cannot, it's unlawful. If you go to the Hudson and you dump some chemicals or some garbage in the Hudson and you get caught, it's a major penalty for that. It's a federal crime. So those clean waterways, believe it or not, our Passaic County River runs into all of that into the ocean. So we are no longer capable of dumping garbage, debris, and urine and feces into the river. But Paterson, because it was such an old city, we have what's called a combined sewer system. So when it rains, that water mixes in with the water you flush the toilets with. So anytime there's a flood, those levels go over and above what our sewer could contain. So that water gets dumped into the river. Anytime that happens, we get fined by the state. So it's a fine that we take on, right? We've been getting fines when it was never any
waste getting spilled,
any flooding. So I get elected, and I'm like, and it's millions of dollars. We have a subcontractor, a consultant, who's coming here telling us all the rules and all the specs, all the guidelines. And he says, well, last year we spent X amount of dollars. I'm like, wait a minute. What's the dates? Tell me what the dates were so that I could go back and look and see, did we in fact have rain and flooding during that time? He said, no, Councilman, we don't do it like that. We just take an average. So wait a minute. We may not have had no floods at all that year.
We're still paying.
But we spending millions of dollars and we paying you. I said, this is the age of technology. We all have phones. Why not put sensors on all those locations? So anytime a flood occurs, the sensor goes off and we know we're in violation.
Absolutely.
But it's too smart to do that. No, we just rather allow people to tell us. And that's what's going on in the city, man. We're being raped, man. We're being hustled.
You was literally serious. They walking out of here with the bag.
They walking out here with the money, man. And we just sitting here, saying, hey, thank you very much. I appreciate you coming.
Let me know next time you come.
I'm gonna give you a scenario, because see, what I like to do is give analogies, and we could close on this. I'm gonna give you an analogy that I think is fitting only for your platform. So somebody done came to the house and visited, right? And then left out, leaving our tailpipe bloody, right? I can't get more graphic than that. They done left out leaving our tailpipe bloody, and we thanking them for their visit.
Good luck.
We appreciate you coming and stopping in. So the city's been getting screwed over, man. It's time to put a stop to that, man. Mike Jackson, 2026, brother.
Hey, Jackson. So, anybody don't like what Mike said and want to come up here and defend themselves or whatever it is, contact me. Get in contact. I'm not hard to reach. I'll be around. And this is episode 5, Beatdown Podcast, man. I'll see y'all later.